Alright guys, so hopefully the video worked yesterday. If the teacher wasn't able to show it, it's on Canvas, so you could always go watch it there after class and do the work the next day. So this is the day. This is the video for Wednesday for AP. If anyone's curious or looking at the wrong one. So we were talking about brainstorming exercises, train of thought ones. The one we did yesterday was just kind of like drawing things in an order and keeping track of like, okay, where is it going from there? The next one would be to take something uh, like items with shoes and then just draw random non sequiturs like a house with shoes and a banana with shoes and blah, blah, blah. And to keep doing that. All of those are ways of just making yourself continue to draw. Do like, if you have to draw an hour a day, how are you going to get that done? You do those kind of exercises. The one we're going to do today is a similar kind of force yourself to draw kind of exercise, but it's also very meditative. It's in your head. It helps you relax and it helps you be more creative because it's not conscious thought, it's subconscious, it's in the back. It's about turning off your anxieties about what you're drawing and why you're drawing it and just letting marks come out on the paper. That can be very beneficial as far as drawing textures, natural things like trees and fire, looser, more expressive lines, unexpected lines, tapping into something more emotional. All of these things can be achieved by what we're going to be doing today, which is called automatic drawing or meditative drawing. Anything where you're not consciously thinking about what's coming out of the paper, you're just drawing to draw. So let's take a look at that. Automatic drawing. The main thing is this right here. We don't want to think about it. We don't want it to be a stressful activity. It's going to take a while to get better at it, to get good at it, but the whole idea is to kind of unplug and let your just creativity flow out onto the paper. You don't want to be worried about how much you're drawing, what you're producing, the quality of it, any of that stuff. You want to get rid of that. You just want to find the joy in drawing again. So, automatic drawing was developed by the Surrealists. So that puts it about everything after World War II to about the 1960s when pop art took over. That's the era of the Surrealists. As a means of expressing the subconscious. In automatic drawing, the hand is allowed to move randomly across the paper. You may have done this in an English class where you were told to just write and write without worrying about like it making sense, where you just write a letter in between, that sort of thing, where you're just completely unplugging and just let what's going to come out, come out. It's like pure rough draft stuff. If you look at these examples down here, you have the one all the way right here. You can kind of make out hands and a rib cage and stuff like that in it, but for the most part, it's these long expressive lines. They jump over each other. They cover most of the page. Same with the other ones. Look how the lines get thicker and thinner. There's more in some spots, very little in others. A lot of overlap, a lot of movement. That's kind of the idea. If you've ever seen like a 3-year-old take a crayon and just go crazy on a piece of paper, they're just having fun making marks. And that's the part of the subconscious we're trying to tap back into with this. These ones, that one over there, is based on Islamic writing. You can tell that by the kinds of swoops and dashes and the calligraphy likeness of the line. But it's also very loose. There's spots of it where it seems like the pen maybe splattered some ink and stuff like that. That's a good thing. This is like the rough draft of drawing. You're not worried about what you're making. You're just making what you're already very comfortable with. As you become a better artist and you have a wider range of marks you're more comfortable making, it'll get more complicated. At this point, it might be a little simple, but that's okay. Like this one right above me here, they're pretty basic patterns. There's nothing that complicated about it. There's not a lot of overlap. There's a little, but not a lot. Mostly just different lines going different directions, a few fluid shapes and stuff like that. Just whatever the artist felt comfortable with. The most important thing, they're just filling up that page. Just getting a lot of practice moving the material around. And in this case, it's like a ballpoint pen, and just really getting used to how that thing moves and how it makes marks. So, here's the academic history of it. Influenced by the writings of psychologist Sigmund Freud, the literary, intellectual, and artistic movement called Surrealism sought a revolution against the constraints of the rational mind, and by extension, the rules of society they saw as oppressive. So, every artist movement is kind of rebelling against the previous movement. Up to this point, you have the Renaissance, and then the Impressionists, the Post-Impressionists, where everything is a landscape or a still life, very based in reality. These guys got really tired of that, and their rebellion from that was drawing things in the subconscious mind, dreamlike things that weren't possible. Think Dali with the melting clocks and stuff like that. Freud and the other psychoanalysts used a variety of techniques to bring to the surface the subconscious thoughts of their patients. The Surrealists borrowed many of the same techniques to stimulate their writing and art, with the belief that the creativity that came from deep within a person's subconscious could be more powerful and authentic than any product of conscious thought. That word authentic, you will hear it a lot if you get further along in your art career. That's a very heady concept if you're studying to get your master's in art. The idea of authenticity, that it's real, pure expression, is something most artists are going for. If you're consciously thinking about your artwork, like what people are going to think of it, if you're making artwork for a certain audience, that's not purely authentic. That's something with intent. And don't even worry about this. This is very college level. But when you want pure authenticity is when you're making it purely for yourself, for the self-expression of it. And that's what this kind of automatic drawing is trying to achieve also. In psychology, automatism refers to involuntary actions and processes not under the control of the conscious mind. For example, dreaming, breathing, or like a nervous tic. Automatism plays a role in surrealist techniques such as subconscious or automatic writing, painting, and drawing. So that's what we're trying to get to. So this isn't the one he was doing in there. This is the guy talking. His name's Stan Prokopenko. But this is another one. Great image of automatic drawing. So let's look at a couple more examples and then I'll cut you loose here. Here's another one. And you can see where it's like there's one drawing starting over on the side. There's a couple up top. They kind of connect, not really. There's no stress being worried about what this is, what it means, any of that stuff. It's just letting art be what it is, which is just pure expression, which is what a lot of artists are aiming for. So a couple more. This is by that guy. It's a different one from that same session off their website, but you can see where he's doing some figure drawing over here and it just kind of descends into this automatic drawing. And the automatic drawing has so much more value and texture and interest. Like the figure is super important and we'll get to that and stuff like that, but this just as much really gets your brain working. And the whole point of this class is to do an artistic investigation. This kind of exercise, when you get to a point where Mr. Reimer, I just can't come up with any more ideas, switch over to something like this, shut off that stressed part of your brain that's worried about that, and just draw for a while. Here's a couple more examples. This one's done in ink, which, like they said in the video, is nuts. But this artist clearly is very comfortable with ink, so they were able to do it. This is a Mobius one, and this one isn't one of those automatic drawings. For him and Jack Kirby, they didn't save that kind of stuff because they drew constantly, so they didn't keep their doodles around. They mostly threw them out. But I think you can see the result of it in here, that it's a lot of just crazy expressive line, a lot of texture and stuff. You can see how an artist would benefit from this kind of technique. There's another one by Mobius, and this is just a panel from his comic book, but you can see how he's doing these strange alien monsters and plants and stuff like that. And he's absolutely iconic for it, and probably why is that he was doing these techniques of building up a whole vocabulary of strange lines and textures from this drawing technique he was doing. All right. So for the rest of the time you have in class today, and anytime you have some downtime, try this automatic drawing technique. Try just letting go of your brain and making some marks on the page. All right, guys? Have a good day.